Where have we been?
We have been back officially on the Great Loop. We left you in Charleston and we are heading north. And now we're in Conway, South Carolina. And along the way, we only threatened to quit and sell the boat once.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of adventures to catch you up on.
Staying on the path that I've chosen, straight up. Come my way and I'll see you at the top. 'Cause something's gonna happen in this story, and I can feel it coming, like the rising of the sun.
All right. It is exciting to be back on our Great Loop, resuming it, which we did when we turned left after Charleston onto the ICW heading north.
Yeah, so this was Charleston, for those catching up. This is where we ended our Great Loop back in 2019. We kind of retreated back to Florida, then a pandemic happened, and we never got back to it until now. So miles up until Charleston, we're just kind of catching back up, and now we're back to soaking it all in, mile after mile. Every mile is new for us again.
Which
And
is fun.
yeah.
Just fun and exciting and adventures and challenging.
And getting our sea legs back and the boat breaking every so often and all these things that it's all about. That's the part of the adventure for good and bad.
So it was a pretty windy conditions when we left Charleston, so we kind of bashed our way through the harbor to get back to the ICW. Wasn't too bad, took nothing to the beam, was just all going right into it. So we just got through it, it was fine. Then you turn left, and then you're in Isle of Palms, which is a no-wake zone. It's a canaled, dug ditch, basically, so it's just straight and narrow, and there is a lot of shoaling areas that make it shallow that you have to navigate around and be very aware of.
Yep, so we paid very close attention to the tides and the charts and all the notices out there and reviews that other people have shared of the experiences they've had and the Corps of Engineer surveys, and made it with really basically no issues whatsoever.
And we did it at a kind of the low tide and rising. So.
Yeah, low tide rising.
So.
And our first night, we decided to, actually it was kind of a last minute diversion. It's like, oh, this anchorage looks really cool. Let's check this out. Price Creek is kind of a creek that goes off and out, and basically it almost looks like you're going into the ocean, because basically the creek does. Where we anchored, there's nothing between us and waves breaking in the Atlantic Ocean.
Except for a little sandbar that's mostly submerged underwater at most tidal conditions that breaks those waves. So it is calm in this anchorage, but it is very tidal. So you do get some very strong currents that will turn you around, and there were some reviews that called them white rapids.
They said you get whitewater rapids when the tide is going in or out with like 3 or 4 knot currents, which is a lot of current. And so we were kind of braced for that. And indeed, we did have some, had a beautiful night, clear skies. And we did have one point where the tide had reversed and was pulling us back. And we're like, I think we're starting to drag a little bit.
It's dragging. So we just calmly reset the anchor, gave it a good pull in the
right direction,
and gave it a little more scope, and we were fine. Nice to practice that under calm conditions. No foreshadowing here.
Yes, we kind of planned on that actually, and then the next morning we took our dinghy up to the beach, walked on the beach, got a little bit of wading, and we're going to go swimming, but biting flies, our nemesis along the low country.
We would have been safe from the biting flies in the water, but there was a whole bunch of those cabbage head jellyfish that we saw swimming past the boat, which was really cool. But they're also all over the beaches there. Beach. It was probably not
jellyfish
the best idea.
Flies. It was really beautiful.
You're gonna get stung by something.
Yes, you're gonna get stung one way or another. And but we had a nice walk on the beach. It was beautiful, and got back to the boat and continued up the ICW. Again, we went basically to the anchorage, one of the anchorages I'd had in mind for the night before, Awendaw Creek, which is huge, wide open anchorage, not much current there, and reportedly room for 100 boats. And during the season, the migration season, I guess it can actually be very full. We had it to ourselves, and a beautiful night there.
So just tranquil. There is land access if you kind of circle back to, there's a natural recreation area with a campground there and a public dock that you can get ashore and get some hiking in and some walking in. We opted not to on this particular trip. It was just an overnight for us, and it's just pleasant. Nothing happened there. That was fine, except for we did notice the radar had gone out.
Yes, yeah. So It's like there seems to be a gremlin that moves around a boat. First, the steering went out, and while the steering was out, we actually used our radar as part of our rear view mirror system to see boats coming up behind us when we were driving from the pilot house and couldn't see backwards. Radar was working wonderfully, working wonderfully, working wonderfully. And then in this next segment, we're just like, radar is, turns on, you could hear it spinning up, but no radar returns. So next thing to fix and replace. Yay, boats.
Yeah, something like that. We're already in touch with Garmin, trying to find it. We don't know what we're going to do about it yet.
We might just replace yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
We're not happy with Garmin, but
yeah, whatever.
Boats.
So the reason that we kind of held back at this anchorage is we were trying to coordinate arriving to Georgetown to rendezvous with our dear friends Sean and Louise of Vector. You also might know them as Our Odyssey. Longtime friends. They used to have a bus conversion, then they got a trawler. We kind of copied them along the way.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
And we've never managed to get us and our boats in the same place together in all the years we've had a boat and whatnot. So it was exciting to have this opportunity to potentially converge because they were picking up some packages in Georgetown, and we wanted to see Georgetown. We heard it was a cool town, so that's why we were kind of holding ourselves there. And we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do also, because this was Memorial Day weekend, and we didn't know where we wanted to be other than not out on the crazy waterways where
especially as we're approaching Myrtle Beach, which is going to be one of the more popular areas for Memorial Day weekend for recreational boat traffic. And it's not like we can't just roll people over, but I just don't like all the little whizzing boats everywhere. It's just too much to navigate.
And one of the most exciting things we're looking forward to on the Great Loop and on the ICW is the Wackamaw River, which is, we'll get to in a second, is absolutely beautiful cruise, but we didn't want to be doing that on a holiday weekend when it is covered in wake and zippy boats and all that stuff. So we were like, yay, maybe Georgetown we could hold back for the holiday weekend, and we get out of the ICW, turn onto the entrance of the Wackamaw River.
This is the Sandpit River.
Yes, it's the Sandpit. But we were thinking like we wanted to pull over and wait for tides and current, and to do the right ride up the river to Georgetown, trying to time it with meeting with Sean and Louise. As soon as we get out onto the river from the ICW, and we actually dropped the anchor to this figure. We're going to wait for a couple hours and just.
It was off Fraser Point, but it was so wakey there because apparently there was a fishing tournament going on. So there's all these sport fisher boats going back and forth, and that wake was just going right into this anchorage, and we were just rolling on the beam.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's like the river was like a washing machine. And Sean and Louise, when they came in, they were coming in from the ocean. They said it was some of the worst conditions they ever went through because 50 sport fishers rushing back, casting maximum wake at a high speed, had the river just churned up. So that was like not fun. So we went ahead
and pushed the current and got into the Georgetown area. Now we had read all sorts of conflicting reviews and differing charting information on the
Georgetown's harbor.
Yes, it is
confusing.
Very confusing.
The Corps of Engineer has it charted as basically completely shoaled in, and there are reports from people saying, "Oh, it's a great one of our favorite anchorages," to other people saying, "Hey, we dragged, we couldn't find a safe spot, we had to leave after an hour." So we were really nervous coming into Georgetown.
And it is tight.
And it is very tight.
Especially coming in, because it's kind of very narrow by the town coming into it. And then so you got a very narrow area, so not room for two boats our size, really, unless you've got Vaseline on both sides of the boat to get through. So you really have to be careful going through there. And then on the Oxbow area, they call it, by the steel mill, there is more open area.
Yes, but then there's also warnings of like, don't try to enter the Oxbow from the backside or you will run aground absolutely because it's so shoaled up. So it was a little. So we basically anchored slightly out from there. We anchored in a turning basin
that is rarely used, just to scope it out.
Just so we could come inshore by dinghy and scope things out with our eyes and just see what is the situation with this anchorage.
Sean and Louise arrive at this area. They make the decision to go ahead and anchor inside of the town areas. We figure, well, they're bigger than us. They're more experienced than us.
They got through too. They could go, well, yeah, and we had just got back and scoped it out. We're like, yeah, we could do this. It's tight in here, but no problem. Let's come in. And because we also had on high alert that there was some the big chance of severe thunderstorms every afternoon for the next several days.
And the other factor we hadn't talked about yet is the pluff mud. Now this is the muddy bottom of this anchorage, which pluff mud is
more foreshadowing.
Is more like soup than it is mud that's going to hold you down. So in calm conditions, the weight of your anchor can probably hold you just fine.
Soupy mud?
Yeah, soupy mud, not so much.
Yeah, so anyway, we decide, okay, this is looking good. We come in basically right at dusk into the Georgetown Oxbow, wave to Sean and Louise. We make plans to get together for brunch the next morning. Beautiful night.
All right, so we had a delightful breakfast with Sean and Louise, catching up. They got their errands done, and then they decided, with the storms coming in that evening and their heavier boat.
And their deeper draft, and they barely squeeze into the shallow waters there. They're like, we got to get out of here. We're going to leave, but you'll be just fine here. Georgetown's a great place to spend the holiday weekend. Not going to be much boat traffic here in the Oxbow. Go for it.
So we were keeping an eye on the weather forecast, and the storms were kind of dissipating. They were definitely not going to be as big of an issue. Definitely not, right? But we were on board anyway, because we did not trust the ground tackle.
And we did not trust the weather forecasts.
Yes.
So
sure enough, a major cell developed right over our heads.
Yeah, we got the weather alerts of severe thunderstorm watch, warning, and get the hell out of there, you're going to die alerts all came through, buzzing our phones in quick succession.
So we were already ready. We had the engines on, watching the anchor alarm, and we started to see us slipping back. Now, we don't have all that much room already.
Tight anchorage.
And the winds are picking up. We're seeing 30 knot gusts, 35 gusts, and then up to 40.
Oh, sustained over 40, and it just started hitting us. And we're looking at the restaurant that is right behind us. Tables are blowing over, patrons are scattering, sideways rain is coming in, and we're looking down at our anchor alarm and like, we're heading their way.
And there is not much room. I mean, it looks a lot worse from the boat than it actually was when we looked at the anchor tracks. But I mean, he's at the helm, trying to steer the boat into the wind as best as possible. I'm running around the boat looking at, because we have boats on either side of us. We have the shoreline,
and it's very friggin' shallow in various directions as well. And the boat dock, the restaurant's dock is right there, and the alarms are going off. And then the wind, because the heart of the cell clocks right over us, the wind clocks full 360 degrees over this course of this, probably just 5 to 10 minutes of this severe storm hitting us.
It was only 5 or 10 minutes. It felt like 6 hours.
It felt like hours.
Oh my God.
But so we're like fighting, going backwards, and then suddenly we're going sideways, and then suddenly we're going backwards, and then we're going this direction and that direction, and it was like,
and the anchor is just like just being a spoon in the soup at the bottom of
once it started to break free, the anchor had no holding in the soup at all.
So our buddy Bob, who is our usually tends to our spa, is going to give you a live demo of what our boat was probably looking like.
Recreation of our path during the storm. Yeah, it was not fun. It was, I mean, I didn't feel in danger. I felt in danger of blowing into and hitting something, particularly the shoreline or something like that,
or going into a shallow area, which would just
run aground or something
like that. But the storm then passed over. Everything got calm. We looked at each other. It's like we're alive. Yay! I went up. I had my life jacket on. Went up forward, and we got the anchor up, and then we went to a wider area of the Oxbow where we
much further from the heart of downtown,
much further from solid walls or anything like that, where we could put out a proper storm scope. Because we only had like 4 out, I think.
Yeah, because it was such a tight space. Yeah, it was. And in that pluff mud, that did not work for us. So we were like, let's get out of here. Let's move over here and settle for the weekend. And hopefully there'll be no more severe storms.
Well, no, actually, the next day we had more storms predicted, and we actually thought. I mean, at that moment we said we're leaving in the morning and finding something else.
Well, Cherie said we're leaving, and we're calling Curtis Stokes, and we're selling the boat, and we're done now. We're getting out of here.
Yeah, I did say that, didn't I?
Yes, there was some tension as we were like coming off that adrenaline.
It wasn't really tension. It was calm and collected, especially after the steering pump, the radar going out, dragging anchor a couple of times now, having a couple snags with the anchor. It's like it seems like it's been challenge after challenge after challenge at much higher succession rate than it was last time we were at active cruising.
Yeah, and she's like, this has not been enough fun to the challenge ratio, and
are we cut out for this? So sometimes you have to let those voices have a voice. That's what they're there for, in order to get past them, instead of letting them fester. And that's what we did. We talked it out. It's like, okay, well, what is the reality of that? And in the morning, it all passed, and we decided to stay in Georgetown. The storms, thankfully.
Well, we had another actually severe potential. It didn't turn into just south of us was another severe watch. We didn't get one where we were, but when that storm front came through, it was actually nice to see all the other captains in the anchorage near us were all at the helm, turned the lights on because this was after dark, and we're all kind of like keeping an eye on each other. And so it just felt like we had more space. Everybody's on the same team. We're watching this on a boat is very different than an RV. Weather is a lot more serious.
For sure. But thankfully that storm did not do anything,
Yes.
just a little bit of rain. And we did enjoy a weekend in Georgetown. Georgetown is a quaint, historic town to go check out. There's some great dining there that we enjoyed. Rolling Local, SoCo Grill were two of our favorites. We got some running in.
We checked out the Rice Museum, which was an interesting experience to get an understanding for the
whole area and the coastal flooding
and the history of
there.
slavery there, which is very
Depressing.
heart-wrenching. And yeah,
But yeah, so then
Georgetown.
So Memorial Day itself, we decided to go ahead. There's another storm coming in, so we said we should get somewhere with better holding.
And we should figured if we left late afternoon, most of the recreational traffic would be dissipating on the rivers.
And sure enough, they were. We took the back way, which was Jericho Creek.
We had to squeeze under a very low bridge, 20 feet, so we got to test our calculations of exactly the height of our Starlink. Were we going to knock it off? And we didn't. So yes, we got to
Or there.
go up a little creek, twisty little space.
Yeah, and then we went to Butler Island, which is a little island in the middle of the ICW that offers a little bit of an anchorage, actually a very large
Yeah,
anchorage.
the goal was to be someplace with known good holding and lots of space and space for lots of boats because we didn't want to do another storm in Pluff Mud and or bad holding. So we're like, let's just get, now that holiday weekend's over, let's go someplace where we can chill.
So got the anchor set, had dinner on board. The storms, again, dissipated, so no worries. It was awesome.
And the good thing was that was the end of the storms in the forecast, so we had then a beautiful week ahead with some of the humidity had finally blown out too, so it was a yeah.
So next morning was Tuesday, which is typically a run day for us. So Chris had found an anchorage on Thoroughfare Creek off of Sandy Island that had hiking trails. So perfect.
Yeah, seemed very little written about this. It was like I found the Nature Conservancy again owned this island and had put in some trails, and there was a few little things on this island, but the island's not accessible by car. And this beach and anchorage is supposedly a party place. I've seen some pictures of hundreds of boats all lined up, rafted up, barbecuing and bonfires and everything. But that's a typical weekend. I'm thinking Tuesday morning.
After Memorial Day should be hopefully chiller.
And it was. We had this piece of paradise to ourselves, this big sandy beach,
Yep, so
an island with flies, but you know.
Lots of flies and insects. So we got our run in and we thought we could do lunch and then we'd weigh anchor and continue on. But we liked it so much that we stayed for the night.
Because we get swimming around our boat, just playing in the water, and had a great time. Did another hike in the morning, and then I guess the Wednesday after Memorial Day, the
recreational traffic picks up.
Water skiers going by, getting wakey and stuff like. Hey, let's continue. We've heard great things about the town of Conway, all the way up the Wackamaw River, diverting from ICW.
First, we stopped at
Wackamaw Marina, we heard is the best, cheapest diesel in this part of the coast, and
we were about half tank, so we said, well, let's go ahead and top up, and so we radioed ahead, said we're coming in for diesel, and we might as well do a pump out while we're there. They gave us perfect docking instructions, said we didn't need the fenders out because all their pilings are rubberized. They had 2 dock hands ready to take our lines. They got us.
It was like pulling into an F1 pit crew. They had like, as soon as we step off the boat, they came. They had the pump up boat. They were already pumping us out. Here, they handed me the diesel. We said, hey, can we get some fresh water? It's like, here's a hose. Hook this up here, and they were friendly, fast, and professional. So highly recommend stop at Wackamaw. Pit stop. They are a perfect pit stop, and then they're like giving us recommendations of anchorages as we head up to Conway.
Coming up to Conway is again one of these places that is not well documented. There's not many reviews on Active Captain or waterway guides that give you useful information on what to expect getting up here. We knew there was transient docks, but there's no information on where they are
or how long you could stay or what the rules are, how big the dock is.
How long of a dock are they? So the recommendation was to go to this Cox Ferry anchorage, which is about 2.5 miles from town, and that's where we went.
Because there's not a lot of other anchorages along. Once you turn off the ICW to Conway until you get to Cox Ferry, there's really no place to anchor because it's a narrow, twisty river through a wildlife refuge. It's beautiful. It reminds us of
Sanford.
the route up to Sanford. Our favorite kind of cruising is twisty little rivers.
Yep. So we go ahead and set the hook in this great little Cox Ferry Oxbow area, nice and secluded. We had local fishermen come up and greet us and welcome us to the area, just super friendly. I waxed the boat on the outside in the afternoon, and we actually got in touch with another looper. You see him back there,
Yeah.
Rusty.
We'd seen his dot on Nebo and had also seen him posting in the AGLCA forums.
Yeah, so we've been talking about slooping together because they're considering switching to a slooping pace.
Yeah, so sent a message saying, tell us what the situation is in Conway.
So he gave us a call and told us that this dock was open. He told us how to get here. He told us how we pay. And perfect. We knew it was open. So we came in the morning, got tied up, walked over to the city marina office at the outfitter's office. Finally found someone there. We're able to pay. It's $1 a foot per day to be here. It includes electric, no water here. And
this is a little slice of paradise.
it has just been phenomenal.
Yeah, so we really quickly realized that we wanted to stay in Conway for the whole weekend just because this is such a neat town. We saw there was a concert in the
park,
basically a block party on Friday night, a farmer's market on Saturday, which turned out to be one of the nicest farmer's markets we've been to, with actual farmers, more veggies.
Lots of farmers. The fridge is loaded with fresh veggies leaving here, which is awesome.
And fruit. Berries. Oh my
Great
God.
dining in town. Another great sushi restaurant at Whitaker's. We also dined at
Shanti's Pizzeria,
pizza.
which we really like. The Bonfire Barbecue.
Right
tacos.
here, you can smell them.
They're right on the water, right down from right on the riverfront here. And we got our bikes out. We got the paddleboard out. We got some running in. We just really thoroughly. This is like a beautiful, super well maintained historic town with a very friendly vibe.
Everyone here has been super friendly. They really are encouraging cruisers and loopers to make the side trip. It's about 17 miles off of the ICW there and back.
So it's a long trip.
It's about a 40-mile round trip side trip, but it's beautiful, welcoming, and
Worth it.
we just totally have loved it here.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let myself get velcroed here like some twisty rivers and quaint historic towns at the end of twisty rivers seems to be our thing.
Seems to be our thing, and this is a very worthwhile town to come though and spend a couple days. They both also have the day dock and the transient docks, and there's ways to get up here.
So anyway, that has been the last couple of weeks of our adventures. Right now I'm feeling good. Done filling the boat. Why
That's
not?
all in the boat.
And we continue on from here.
Yeah.
We're going to try to get a stop in at Wilmington and New Bern next.
Then go behind Myrtle Beach, and then who knows where we'll head up next after that. So, yeah, probably some fun adventures ahead, and probably some more challenges ahead too. But
no more challenges. We've had enough.
Yeah, like our paddleboard just blew up. But things happen. It's a boat. There's a gremlin that hops from place to place.
I swear.
Like, damn brother. But see you down the waterways. Thank you for joining in, and keep letting us know you're enjoying this, because that's what makes this worth doing.
We create these videos just for fun, and we love having you along for the ride. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, or if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. See you next time.